Alright friends, welcome back to another Renee's Corner video. Today we are going to be talking about coping with stress and self-care. And I felt like these two topics kind of went together because I often use self-care to cope with stress. And so yeah, this video was requested by quite a few people. Quite a few of you all messaged me and asked me to do this video, and so I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm not the best person to do this video because I know that I cope with stress probably pretty minimally, and I'm not necessarily the best person to be following my footsteps when it comes to stress or when it comes to coping with stress. And so I just wanted to start this video with talking about what stress is. So, hang on. So the definition on MedMD is stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension, may come from an event that or something that makes you frustrated, angry, or nervous. And stress is your body's reaction to a challenge or demand. In short bursts, stress can be positive, but as such as when it helps you avoid danger or meet a deadline. But too much stress can have a huge impact on your body. So yes, so that's stress. Everybody has it. It's not like some people have it, some people don't. Everybody has stress in their life and everybody copes with it differently. And so grad school is a huge source of stress, and I feel like the time that I've been in grad school and been in academia, like I've been slowly but surely learning how to cope with stress a little better. I'm still not the best, and I just wanted to preface this and say the ways that I cope with stress and the way that I self-care might not fit what you need for self-care and what you need to do to cope with stress, but these are some of the things that I do, and they seem to work pretty well. So one of the main ways that I cope with stress, which some people have issue with, and I know some people think it's great, but I typically just cry. Like I cry about it for a little bit. No more, I don't know. I've never actually timed how long I like stress cry, but I stress cry, like it just happens. Like, and I know when it's coming. I normally can like time it so that I can go to the bathroom or, you know, have some privacy to cry, but it's like a release. And so I think that some people like scream. I think that some people will like punch things, and like it's sort of like that release of the like tension in your body from the stress. It's like a release, and so I cry. Sorry if the lighting's a little weird too. I'm very quickly losing sunlight, and so it might do some weird funky things on camera. Yeah, and so crying for me is sort of like this release, the same way that like some people scream, some people like curse really loudly. Can't really think of any other like releases, but oh, some people do like physical exercise to help cope with stress. I think over the summer when I was working out, I think that it was managing my stress so well that I didn't realize it was, because now that I'm not able to work out, not that I'm not able to work out, it just doesn't work out timing wise. I hate working out at home. This is kind of going into a tangent, but I just can't, right now it's not a good time for me working out, and I noticed that I'm more stressed than when I was working out. And so some people use like a form of release. I also do a lot of sleeping when I'm stressed, and so sometimes it looks like naps. Most of the time it looks like me going to bed super early, like 8 o'clock. Normally I go to bed around 10:30, 11, but when I'm stressed out, I was like there was a period in December where I was super stressed out with finals, all this stuff that was going on with my family. I was going to bed at like 8 o'clock. Like I would take like an 8 to 10 nap, wake up, take Nehemiah out, and then go back to sleep, and then sleep till the morning. I don't know if that's the healthiest coping mechanism, but for me, it just, you know, puts a pause on the stress, and that's what I needed it to do so that I could function the next day and stuff. So yes, that's one of the things I did, and I know that I do for stress. Another thing I do kind of subconsciously when I'm stressed is I start to clean. Like I get like the cleaning bug. Like I'll clean up the whole apartment, do laundry, mop the floors, wipe down everything. Like I just get crazy and I just start cleaning like everything. Like it looks like, I can always tell when I'm like super stressed is like when I come in and I'm like, oh, it looks like a museum in here. You must be stressed, Tanisha. And it never fails. Like I've noticed that the more I'm like super cleanly, like I'm not dirty, but like I clean like so much more than I would typically when I'm stressed out. Also, when I'm stressed out, what I'm using now more recently is trying to incorporate more self-care. I feel like I'm not the best person to talk about self-care because I feel like I do very like minimal self-care. And I just feel like because I don't need as much and the things I do for self-care are sufficient enough for me. And so there was a podcast that talked about self-care being restorative and restful, I think. Hang on, let me pause this and then, okay, I wanted to make sure I got it right. So there are, in the podcast, it's called Black and in Grad School. I will leave a link below. I freaking love this podcast. I'm not a big podcast person, but this is somebody who I've met in the academic, social media sphere, and I really love her podcast. I highly recommend if you're a podcast person to listen to it. I will link it down below. Anyways, so she talks about restorative and rest self-care, and so she talks about rest self-care being like you just turning off your engine, and then restorative self-care being like you filling up your gas tank. And so for me, it's been very important for me to like differentiate what I need and know what I need. And so when I need rest self-care, I take naps, I watch anime, I do mindless stuff, like I just need to relax. And then when I need restorative self-care, I do things like YouTube, and I reach out to my friends, and I go out of my way to help somebody, and those are things that restore me, and those are like those self-care kind of things. I'm trying to think what else that I do. Rest self-care, I typically know when I need it when like my brain is just like foggy and I'm like, I don't really feel like doing anything, and I'm like, I'm kind of tired, kind of not. It's kind of like when you feel like when you're about to get sick and you're like, something isn't right, but I'm not sick yet, but something isn't right. That's how I know when I need like rest self-care. Restorative self-care is kind of, I know when I need it when I feel like unmotivated, and when I feel like I haven't done enough reaching out to people, or I feel kind of lonely. Those are when I do sort of those restorative things. Yeah, so knitting. I don't do as much knitting these days, but knitting is one thing that I used to do, and it's like a mindless thing, and it helps me turn my brain off. So that's like falls into the rest category. But restoration, self-care kind of looks like going to the grocery store and just having some like very minimum social interaction, because sometimes when you're in grad school it's pretty isolating. And so I think, you know, knowing what you need and when is really important, and knowing what self-care things work for you and what self-care things don't work for you, and what coping mechanisms work and don't work. So for me, somebody was telling me that their coping mechanism with stress is just to like eat the frog and go head first into it. That does not work for me. It feels really uncomfortable, and when I'm uncomfortable, I put out terrible work. And so somebody also was like, oh, self-care is like, they like to like take baths and stuff. I like to shower, and I like to do it quickly because I don't like being in the bathroom for too long. And so like for me, like the bath thing didn't work. And so doing some of this like trial and error is really important, so that you can find out what things fill your soul up and how you cope with stress. This video has gotten very long. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so basically that is it for today's video. If you have any different coping mechanisms for stress or how you self-care, please leave those below. I'm always looking for suggestions for self-care, because I feel like I'm not doing the best of self-care jobs. I'm doing like it's sufficient, but I would always like to do more. Yeah, and so if you're not following me over on my Instagram, you should definitely do that. I post like more behind the scenes, day-to-day things, and kind of really anything I post about. I post about pretty much everything. There's lots and lots of pictures of my dog. If you're into dog stuff, you know, he's over on my Instagram a lot more. And if you have watched this far and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I talk about grad school mostly, and I talk about clinical psychology because that's what the field I'm in. I also sometimes talk about organizational things and there's like a wide variety of topics that are covered here, like adulting and other things. And so if you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. You don't have to, no pressure. I would love it if you join the little family we have building here, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. And also, if you have any video suggestions, be sure to leave those below. I am always looking for more. You guys come up with great videos, ideas that I would never have thought of, and so be sure to leave those below. And I will see you guys in next week's video. Peace out, and I love you all so much. Bye.